Alrighty, how's it going, guys? We have some breaking news. Odell Beckham Jr. Yesterday has signed with the Los Angeles Rams not too long after being cut by the Cleveland Browns. And how's it going, guys? Hank and Dictor here, along with Sam Cardona. And today we're going to just be doing a little short video where we dissect this news about Odell Beckham going to an NFL superpower. But before we do any of that, I'd like to give you guys a friendly neighborhood reminder. You give us a follow on all of our account pages. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And of course, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel as well. And without further ado, let's get into it. Odell Beckham signing with the Rams. I mean, all I can say is wow. And, it's funny because not long before that, NFL memes posted the thing that said LA Rams signing Odell Beckham, and it's like,
yes,
no way. Like, I just laughed it off. Like, no, because I don't know about you, Sam, but my first instinct was that he was going to go sign with the New England Patriots. And the reason being is because if you looked at the Pats historically, like Bill Belichick has a habit where he sees a superstar receiver. He cancers his way out of whatever team he plays for, only to get said receiver for the cheap. And then that's obviously been mixed results, but you see Randy Moss worked out well, Antonio Brown, not so much. And then he had Chad. Well, that year he was Chad Ochocinco. Didn't really have a great regular season, but he actually caught a touchdown in that Super Bowl. But either way, it sounds like a typical Bill Belichick plan. But the more I think about it, it probably makes sense that he didn't. He has a young quarterback in Mac Jones. So I guess that was probably for the best. But anyways, he goes to LA Rams. It looks very much like he's ring chasing a la Antonio Brown with the Buccaneers. Sam, what was going through your mind? Take me through your thoughts when all this news broke out.
Well, first of all, when I saw the NFL memes sign like that he was going to the Rams like a few days before, I was like, "Oh my god, no way." And then I was like, "Oh, it's just a fake thing. It's fine." And I'm like, "Nah, no, he's not going to the Rams. That'd be crazy." And here we are, and he went to the Rams. I was literally like, "Oh my god." But you are completely right with the ring chasing situation. I mean, he said he was going to go to a contender. He wanted to go to a contender, and I would argue that the Rams are definitely Super Bowl contenders.
Yeah.
But like at this point in time, my God, where are the Rams getting all of this money to pick up all these people? Like it is just insane. But I had the same thought. I was like, oh, he's going to go to the Patriots and like, he's going to bring Mac Jones into the light and make him better than what he's doing. Like I was expecting that as well. Or the Saints, because after Michael Thomas was going to be out for the entire year, I was like, oh, he could go to the Saints. They're contenders. But no, the Rams, I am like still processing. I'm still processing. I still have no idea what's going on, but it's pretty wild. But they have a lot of wide receivers on that team now.
Yeah, and to add to your point about the Rams, before the season even started, or let's say at the end of 2020, they already had Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. Then they go out and trade so much draft capital to improve their quarterback, which was a quarterback improvement, let's be real. And now, in the midst of the season, they're already well on their way to being Super Bowl contenders to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
Les Snead, after having spent a lot of money and a lot of draft capital, can you believe they're not going to have a first round draft pick until we're in our 30s, by the way, but that's another point for another day. They go out and they decide to add Von Miller to join Aaron Donald. And remember, they got Jalen Ramsey like a couple years before. And now they go out and get Odell Beckham Jr. What? Makes no sense. And like, I'm with you on that. Like, he's got Les Snead's like cap space. We don't need that. Draft picks? No, that's for losers. We don't need that.
Who needs a draft pick?
I'm gonna go all in, shove all my chips to the table. We gotta prevent Tom Brady from getting another Super Bowl. That's what I think is going on in the mind of Les Snead, the LA Rams general manager. And yeah, on the surface, it looks like a decent signing because, I mean, like I said, it's another superstar you're adding to a loaded roster. But with that having been said, it doesn't come without risks.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, going into this team, there's a lot of personalities going on here. We have a lot of superstars. We have a lot of different people who are going to be catching the ball, being targeted. And even on the defensive side, I mean, Jalen Ramsey, I would say, is pretty much at the same level of, causing drama, you could say, as Odell is. Like, there's going to be a lot of personalities on this team. And in terms of the wide receivers, I mean, Cooper Kupp, Robert Woods, Odell, and Van Jefferson is also in the mix as well. That's four wide receivers, and like all Odell wants to do is get targets. And like, yes, I'm sure that he'll get the ball thrown to him at some point, but Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford are tight. Like they eat breakfast together every single morning. Like I don't know if Cooper Kupp is going to get less snaps over Odell. So it's like kind of going back and forth the way that it's like, yes, now you're on a contending team, but also you're not going to get as many hits as you are thinking you're going to get. I mean, he was just sharing the field with Jarvis Landry in Cleveland, and he was complaining then. Like, I would not be surprised if he was like, why isn't anyone throwing me the ball?
Says, and this is the same guy, let's not forget, who said, I want to join a contender.
Right. And that's what you get when you join a contender. There are other people on the team.
Be careful what you wish for,
Yeah.
because it just might happen. So yeah, I completely agree with you. And let's go back to like the beginning of his career, because we know this guy's career pretty much on the back of our heads. He spent the first 5 seasons with our beloved New York Giants. And look, I've had a number of debates with people about Odell Beckham, and this goes beyond like anything that I've talked about with some of our fellow members of Review and Preview. There have been even other people I've had lengthy discussions about Odell Beckham and whether I like him or not. And,
Mhm.
the one thing we can all agree with, the guy's talented. That can never be questioned. We all know about that famous catch that has been overplayed to death. Yep, I said it. And did the Giants win that game? No, we did not. Just
Nope.
wanted to point that out there. But with that being said, what we also can agree with is the main problem has been his attitude. And, look, there's a reason Odell Beckham is already on team number 3. I mean, look, you look at the careers of Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens was also on a third team by this point in his career. And don't get me wrong, that guy was an amazing receiver. You know who else was on a third team, like 3 or 4 teams in his career and burned bridges where he left? Randy Moss. And in my honest opinion, Randy Moss was probably the most talented receiver in our lifetime. So, it just goes to show you can have all the talent in the world, but if ego and attitude are that big of a problem to the point where like it creates a bigger issue than like wins and losses, then you really have to start to think, is this guy really worth the trouble? And to be honest with you, let me give you the numbers on his career real quick. With
Okay.
the Giants, he's had 390 catches for over 5,000 receiving yards and 44 touchdowns. With the Browns, only 114 catches, 1,500 yards, and 7 touchdowns. And you know what? I'm going to even go on a limb and say this. If you look at his last 4 seasons where he has played at least 10 games, like this is what I'm calling like a full season.
Mhm.
Odell Beckham has actually had a slow decline. Like, and I've been saying this too. I just had to go up and look at his stats on Pro Football Reference, like I always do, because let's be real, that website's my friends.
Yeah.
And let me give you some of his numbers from the
Okay.
last 4 seasons, which are considered healthy.
Mhm.
2015, which may have been his best season, 1,450 yards, 13 touchdowns. 2016, 1,367 yards and 10 touchdowns. Okay. So far, those are pretty respectable numbers. He's still a
Mhm.
star.
Mhm.
He misses most of 2017 with an injury. And then we
Mhm.
get to 2018. Just over 1,000 yards and only 6 touchdowns. And this is his last season with the Giants. Gets traded. People are thinking, oh, well, Odell Beckham played with a declining Eli Manning. He'll do better in Cleveland. But then you have a Browns team that's overhyped. And let me continue to give you his numbers. 1,035 yards. That's 17 less than his last season with the Giants. And only 4 touchdowns. Seems to me that this guy may have peaked a little too soon, no?
Mhm. Yeah. No, I would agree, and it is like it is not there wasn't any time where the numbers have gone up. It was that first year where it is the highest, right? So I mean,
Actually, second.
I know that in Cleveland, like, they were spreading the ball around a little more, like,
Yes.
that makes a lot of sense. But, I mean, yes, a talented guy, but if it's obvious that, well, first of all, it's obvious that the Browns do not need Odell. The
No,
Browns do
no.
just fine without him, and when he was injured, we saw that as well. So, it's very interesting to see that he's been on the decline and people are still, and yes, like we said, he's still a talent, but what are we gonna expect something different with the Rams? Again, spreading the ball around? I don't know if he's going to get those types of numbers again unless he is the only wide receiver on a team. That is like I think that if he went somewhere where he was literally the star of the team, I would see those numbers again. But yes, he's had injuries and he's getting older and I don't know. I don't know if we're ever gonna see numbers like that again from him.
Yeah, no. And that's what happens for receivers. They peak, the fast don't continue to get faster. And while I'm
Right.
sure he can still make a catch, I think again, football players sometimes peak a little earlier than usual. Odell just happened to like slowly decline after maybe his no, not second. I think it was his third season. I think it was 2016 was really when the drop off started because that was the year the Giants went to the playoffs. And then, I've rehashed the story numerous times. Odell Beckham basically decides to join the Beach Boys with his buddies on that boat in Miami. And look what happened in the playoffs. He has that critical drop. And, you know, I think before I even end this little segment, I'm going to go on another tangent. Like, as great as Odell Beckham is, he is proof that 90%, probably even more than 90% of Eli Manning receivers, they are better when he's their quarterback. And if you look at the numbers of Odell Beckham, that's still true. And make no mistake, I'm not saying that Matthew Stafford is a better or worse quarterback than Eli Manning because it's really hard to compare those two. Eli had a really good set of teammates around him, at least for the first half of his career. Matthew Stafford didn't really get an all-star team until like much later with the Los Angeles Rams, but like, it's a continuous cycle. Like Odell Beckham, like I said, his numbers are down since 2016, I would say. And then you also have guys like Jeremy Shockey, who, great tight end, didn't really do much after he left the Giants. I mean, he did have a Super Bowl with the Saints, but that's about it. Hakeem Nicks, Mario Manningham. What did Manningham do with the 49ers? And what did Hakeem Nicks do with the Indianapolis Colts? And then he comes back to the Giants, isn't quite the same receiver. I mean, you think maybe a certain number 10 who will eventually be in the Hall of Fame had something to do with these wide receivers being good?
Yeah. I would agree with you, Hank. Like that Eli Manning, people can say all they want about him towards the end of his career, and I will admit that yes, obviously he started to decline towards the end, but he was also reaching his 40s and had been in the league for many, many years and was given coaches he couldn't get coached by and all that kind of stuff. There's a lot of factors there.
Yeah.
Yeah, kid, he won 2 Super Bowls. 2 Super Bowls. Like, that's not a mistake. So I definitely think Eli had something to do with it, but I mean, yes, Odell did make our team better when he was there, but
Yeah.
once it started to decline and once he was having relationships with kicking nets and that whole debacle, like it just went downhill.
I think the red flag really should have been when he tried to pick a fight with Josh Norman. I think that was the beginning of the end. That was the first red flag before I think the other shoe dropped probably when he had that showing in the playoffs. But that's just me going on a little tangent just because as a Giants fan, it's really hard to talk about Odell Beckham without living the, quote unquote glory days. But
Right. Right.
at the end of the day, back to this news about him going to the Rams. I think really, if anything, it's just an interesting move. I think, as I said, he's pretty much ring chasing. It's no secret. And we all know he wanted to play for contender. And I'm not going to say that Stafford's a better quarterback than Baker. No offense, because I know you really love Baker, but like
That's okay.
I think it's somewhat of an improvement. The only problem is you're going to be stuck behind a lot of you're going to a
Yes.
team that has way too many receivers. Like it's great that you want to get the ring and all, but then just watch your ego. That's all. That's my only warning to Odell Beckham. But good luck to the Rams. And for your sake, Rams fans, I hope that signing him and paying all that money to the other stars you have and all those lost first round picks you have don't come back to haunt you within the next 5 years.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you said it, Hank. It really is. If he doesn't make a stink and they win a Super Bowl, I'll be like, all right, he's finally gotten what he's wanted. But even if they like get to the playoffs and he's like, I came to this team so we could win a Super Bowl, like at that point, come on, dude. Like, what do you expect?
Well, once again, Sam, I want to thank you again for taking this time to record this video with me, as always. Always a pleasure talking football, you. And
Of
I'm
course.
looking forward to talking some more football with you on Thursday for Big Blue Avenue. And before we get off, would you please do me the honors of plugging the Girl Who Talks Sports briefly?
For sure. So, for those that don't know, I have my own podcast, The Girl Who Talks Sports. It is available on all podcasting platforms and on my YouTube channel, which is The Girl Who Talks Sports. You can also find me on Twitter at TGWTS Podcast and on Instagram and TikTok at The Girl Who Talks Sports.
Awesome. And you can also find Sam on Big Blue Avenue every Thursday night at 7 p.m., where we recap a lot of the Giant games for better or for worse, although mostly it's been worse considering where Big Blue is. But hopefully we'll have more better ones in the weeks to come. But in the meantime, please don't forget to follow us on all of our accounts. You can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Review and Preview Sports. And if you want to see more short videos like this, in addition to all of our main shows, please give us a subscribe to our YouTube channel at Review and Preview Sports. Always a pleasure talking to you guys. Once again, on behalf of Sam Cardona, I'm Hank Dichter, and I will talk to you guys later.